Yeah, it didn't take very long for breaking paleo news to drop. I made the comment in episode 0 of the Not a podcast that we that we would probably respond to breaking news if breaking news came out. And I have some good news for you. It didn't take long. It only took like a couple days. So today I moved my mic closer, so hopefully you can hear me better. Anyway, today we're gonna talk about ceratopsians in Europe, which apparently has never been found before. I'd heard this before. I've read articles about this before, and this article is confirming that there are, in fact, ceratopsians. They are the frilled dinosaurs. Well, sometimes they have frills with like they usually have like horns or spikes sticking out of them. If you've seen Land Before Time, just think Sarah, and you'll know what I'm talking about. All right, so for a little bit of context, Europe is kind of weird in terms of like dinosaur fossils. We find fossils there all the time, but there is definitely this discrepancy between, in Asia and North America, you find really big stuff, and in South America, you find really big stuff. Europe's kind of weird. And the reason why it's kind of weird is because back during the Mesozoic, one, Europe wasn't in the same spot it is today, but also a lot of Europe was underwater uh, due to, higher sea levels and flooding and whatnot. So there was, like, not as much. I mean, there was a lot going on, but, like, it was a very different habitat compared to, like, what was going on in North America and Asia, which, if you're a dinosaur living in North America and Asia, you were probably having a good time up until about 66 million years ago. But, like, this is kind of a big deal in terms because ceratopsians for a long time were kind of assumed to not be in Europe. But we found them. Or I should say, paleontologists found them, finally. And I'm not going to take too much of your time here because this is kind of a short one, but it's setting the tone for like the second video format of the week that I'm doing here. And basically, we're going to try and, talk about something very specific in the second video. These videos are probably going to be shorter unless I'm doing something like crazy, like a Jurassic World Evolution 3 park build or something. That might take longer. But for now, we're just going to talk about, what's going on with this article today. And I think I'm just going to take you to it. So for starters, this is a pretty good art. I like it. It's done by Matthew Dempsey. And this is an interpretation of our European ceratopsian. Right away, you'll notice there's no neck frill. There's no spikes. Well, that's kind of weird. Why is that? Well, let's read it and I'll explain. So, Europe's missing ceratopsian dinosaurs have finally been found by James Ashworth. Published January 7th, 2026. So, this article's been around for a bit. But I didn't really get the chance to look at it until a couple days ago. And then I was like, okay, well, we gotta talk about this. So, let's get into it. Fossils of ceratopsian dinosaurs, the group containing Triceratops and its relatives, are widespread across the northern hemisphere. However, they're curiously absent from Europe. New research reveals that these missing ceratopsians might have been under our noses the whole time, completely reshaping our understanding of European dinosaurs. Relatives of Triceratops have never been found in Europe until now. Yay! Woo! Since the first dinosaur was named in Over 200 years ago, only 4 potential ceratopsians have been unearthed in the whole of Europe. However, the fragmentary nature of these fossils meant that their true identity has been contentious. Instead, scientists thought that Europe was dominated by a little known group of dinosaurs called the Rhabdontids. I definitely said that wrong. These animals, which are relatives of Iguanodon, are found nowhere else on Earth. So, for context, Iguanodontids um, are a fairly common dinosaur that's found in Europe. And they're found in Australia, too, interestingly enough. But they're close relatives of hadrosaurs and ceratopsians. So hadrosaurs being like the duck-billed dinosaurs, and then ceratopsians being frilled and horned dinosaurs. And basically, they're really common in Europe. These iguanodontids. I think that some are found in North America as well, but Europe seems to be like where they really like diversified. New research published in the journal Nature now explains why. After studying an 84 million year old dinosaur called Acaceratops, I think I'm saying that wrong, paleontologists have realized that many of these iguanodontids might actually be misidentified ceratopsians. These dinosaurs would have lived in Europe when the continent was a series of islands dotted around the Tethys Sea, which could help to explain their unique diversity. Professor Susanna Maidment, our dinosaur expert who led the paper, says that the finding rewrites what paleontologists know about Cretaceous Europe. That is breaking news to me, I think. That's huge news. This paper shows that rather than being completely absent, ceratopsians were actually quite common in Europe. It means that the European dinosaur fauna probably weren't that different from other parts of the northern hemisphere. So basically, even though Europe, a lot of it was underwater, we should still expect to find the dinosaurs that we find in North America and Asia. I mean, they're going to be different species because it's a different continent. But, like, we should still expect some similarities, which is interesting. In this case, the idea that Europe's islands drove the evolution of many unique species might not be as strong as once thought. That makes it even more important to re-examine Europe's dinosaur fossils to find out what was happening here in the late Cretaceous. I like that they had a computer graphic skull, or top of the skull here, which is kind of cool. I think they found the top of the skull, I believe. But, How did ceratopsians evolve and spread around the world? We won't really get into that too much. Oh, here we go. After realizing that rhabdontids such as Machelodon might just be ceratopsians who adapted to life on Europe, adapted, not adopted. This is going great. To life on European islands, the team started looking at other rhabdontid dinosaurs from the continent. Their analysis showed that the Romanian dinosaur Zalmoxis, often depicted as a miniature iguanodon-like animal, was also a ceratopsian. Its pelvis, for example, lacks a protubris that iguanodontids have. The researchers moved this species to the new ceratopsian genus Ceratops, named in honor of Baron Franz Nepsia, a famous Austro-Hungarian paleontologist of the 20th century who originally found its remains. The team's findings were less certain about other Zalmoxis species. Z. robustus, whose name remains unchanged. This is because it appeared as both a ceratopsian and an iguanodontid depending on how the data was analyzed. So basically what they're saying is that these particular ceratopsians look very similar to iguanodons because they don't have the neck frill, or at least it's not as pronounced, and the head shape is very similar to what we see in iguanodons. the groups are very closely related, so that this kind of makes sense. When you get into phylogeny trees, they you can start seeing the similarities pretty well, but like they're pretty closely related. While Iguanodon and Triceratops look very different, the groups they are a part of evolved from a common ancestor, meaning they both inherited certain characteristics, explains Susanna. They also independently evolved four-leggedness, complex chewing mechanisms, and a large body size. This means that their teeth and limbs look quite similar, both because of their shared history and way of life. So, when we only have small parts of the skeleton to look at, it can be quite difficult to tell what's what. It will hopefully become easier to study these animals in the future as the dust settles, following the paper's seismic shift in dinosaur taxonomy. Susanna hopes that it will spur paleontologists to revisit existing dinosaur species and re-examine what they think they know. Had Nopsia's material been found today, I don't think it would have been interpreted as iguanodontian because of what we know about these dinosaurs, Susanna says. So we can't assume that the identity of a species is correct just because it's already been studied. This demonstrates how museum collections are not just storage, they are a living archive that needs constant updating. By interpreting what we have and finding more complete skeletons, we'll be able to understand the lives of these dinosaurs. Okay, so a little bit to unpack here for a second. Basically, when these dinosaurs were first discovered, the people who originally found them thought they were iguanodontids. And because they thought these were iguanodontids, we had this long-running assumption that there were no ceratopsians in Europe. So now, because they've re-examined these fossils, we can now confirm that they are, in fact, ceratopsians and not iguanodontids. So this kind of rewrites what we know about European dinosaurs in a lot of ways, and it'll probably spur on a lot more expeditions and a lot more studies and papers going into like European dinosaurs and fossils in general, which is really cool. I think that's actually like really, really fantastic. So yeah, I don't really have much more to say about this. It's just really cool to see stuff like this. So yeah, this is our first like big news on the channel, I think, and it's gonna be crazy to see like where things go from here. I think with it. Unfortunately, this is pretty much all the time I have to talk about it because I have to catch a bus. So I'm not gonna like do much else here. Anyway, so episode 1 of the Not a podcast of Sky's Paleo Corner will be out next week. I'm shooting for a Tuesday release. I'm thinking recording Monday and then releasing Tuesday is the way to go. We'll look at more news then. Until then, I will see you all next time. Bye.